Welcome to Pagan Coffee Talk. Here are your hosts, Oswin and Lord Knight. So this is kind of a special episode of Pagan Coffee Talk. We have come up on our almost 1 year mark.
Yay!
And I know it's incredible, isn't it?
Who would want to listen to me for more than a year? I'm just saying.
Honestly, I didn't think we would get the amount of listeners that we have, and I think it's a wonderful thing. We're reaching out to people, and people are getting something out of this.
Rage porn.
Maybe, but it's something. I'll take it. So anyway, I thought in this episode we could discuss something a little more out of the ordinary from our usual topics.
Okay.
Let's talk about incarnation.
Okay. What would you like to know about it?
Well, in our tradition, first degrees, we don't allow first degrees to incarnate.
We don't allow second degrees to incarnate either.
Right. Only third degrees can incarnate.
Yes.
Why is this?
Because it's assumed by the time you've reached the level of third degree, you've done all the work and everything that you need to do. You've done you're doing your meditations. You've cleared out the junk, and the pathway to allow a deity to possess your body temporarily is a little bit easier.
Okay. But who's to say, I mean, what is it about second? I can sort of understand where you're coming from there on first degrees. But second degrees? I mean, second degrees have put a lot of work into themselves and their work for the craft. And
the majority of the time when you're working for a degree, you act like that degree as you get closer to it. I don't know how to explain that. I mean, there is a growth. There are certain things we are looking for. We're looking, third degrees should be quite self-aware. I can look at people going, hey, yeah, I'm being a dick.
Right.
I am being an asshole, but that's my point, that we should be aware enough to know that we know our faults and we try to work with them and do better at them. That just because we are aware of them doesn't mean we actually get rid of them all the time.
Okay. Yeah.
True.
Right. Because a lot of times you're still... Faults are a hard thing to get rid of.
Exactly.
You can always work with them, but
you get a better appreciation when you got the other person going, never mind.
Right. Well, and it also helps when you have, another second degree or third degree working with you on these things, and they're like, no.
He really is being a dick.
Right.
No, he's absolutely right. We're not going to sugarcoat this. He's being a dick.
So what else can you tell us about, because I'm a first degree. I've never even had a desire to incarnate.
Well, first of all, of course, mysteries and stuff like that, we're not allowed to actually discuss how we do this.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. I mean, What else can you tell us about incarnation?
I can tell you what it's like.
Okay.
All right. And it is a story of contradictions all at the same time. Because you have a sense of yourself, while at the same time you don't. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But that's what this whole entire state's like, because it's kind of like you're sitting in the back seat, and it's funny because the first time you ever do this is you're sitting there and you start to realize that you are having the thoughts about words coming out of your mouth after they've come out of your mouth instead of before.
Okay. Well, then...
So that's a little disconcerting to be sitting there going... Because you're quite used to, while you're doing stuff like we're doing right now, talking, you sort of you have the thought in your head before you speak.
Right.
And at this state, it's the other way around. You hear words coming out of your mouth and you're going, oh, They're talking to me too. Crap.
All right.
So again, when you start to realize, you're no longer making your gestures that you normally do. You're not talking the way you do. It's really weird.
So it is possession.
It is. It is actual possession.
Maybe not in the sense, where, we need an old priest and a young priest and some holy water.
No.
But it is possession.
And even then, I'm not saying that this is the full scope of that deity. This could just be a fraction of that power and knowledge flowing through you. I don't think we could actually our bodies can actually handle the full scope. So this is just.
And in regards to that, do you think that it's more along the lines of when a deity possesses you, they're using like a dial?
Yeah.
That says, okay, this person can only handle 2 or 3 on the dial. This person can handle maybe a 4.
I would hope so, but I don't think that's always the way it works. I think it's more like, yeah, we're going to set this at 11, but there's not an 11. I said we're going to set it at 11.
Okay.
Well, see, in our tradition, we have something we refer to as lichens. And
right.
These are people who follow the high priest and priestesses around in circle while they're incarnating.
Right. I believe in other traditions, they call them handmaidens and squires and
this is a specific,
things like that.
Yeah, these are specific roles because these people prevent us from doing stupid stuff like walking into fires.
Okay.
All right, because you got to remember the deity mindset is, okay, fire. Yeah, me and him are old friends.
Right, what do I have to be afraid of?
What do I have to be afraid of? I remember when he was just a little ripper-snapper, just a spark. And the source's eyes. It doesn't have a concept.
Right.
So, yes, it's good to have people kind of watching you, make sure you don't do anything to injure yourself.
Okay.
I'm sorry, you've been in a circle where people have incarnated. What is
yes, I have.
Let's hear your point of view. I mean, because
I remember the first time that it happened, and I was not aware that it was going to happen. The energy inside the circle completely changed. It was like just snap of the fingers, and it was something completely different. It was so much more intense. The actions of the priest and priestess were not what I was used to, because these were people, you being one of them, these were people who I had interacted with on some on a daily basis, others on a almost daily basis. I worked with some of these people in an office. So yeah, it was really interesting, and in some ways it was actually kind of scary. But I started noticing certain things happening, and the way people were acting, and I became more aware of what was actually going on in circle. And it was, I don't know, it was a phenomenal feeling to know that that's what was going on. It probably took me until the end of ritual to realize that y'all had incarnated, that's what had actually happened. But I remember that feeling. But yeah, it was kind of weird watching the priest and priestess move around the circle, because you just kind of moved around. You didn't stay in one place anymore. You kind of moved around and interacted with people on a completely different level. And you and the priestess were just, you were drawing out emotions from people that people didn't even know they had.
Well, see, it's because it's funny, because on our end, especially when it's over with, it takes a while. And I don't know if you've ever noticed, it takes us a while to pull our personalities back together.
No, I never noticed that.
I mean, but even in our heads, because it's kind of like, oh yeah, there's my sense of humor. Somebody step on it right quick before it gets away.
Stop that sense of humor. Don't let it run away.
Don't let it run away. It's not that big as it is.
I need it.
It's the only redeeming quality I have.
Right.
I mean, but pulling that back together, taking that time. I mean, I remember doing a lot. I don't remember a lot of the feast afterwards.
Really?
I mean, I
That
remember
long?
them, but I don't.
So it really does take a while for you to recollect yourself and
Yeah, I mean,
get back to some sort of quote unquote normalcy,
I mean, it's kind of like being stoned,
but not.
but not. I mean,
Gee, that's not vague at all.
your thoughts are acting like you've just smoked a big old blunt, but
So you kind of feel that high, that disconnected feeling.
that off-center
Okay.
type situation.
But could it, because from what you're describing, I see it more as like an astral projection type thing where you are literally just kind of watching things happen.
Well, during it, yeah, in a way, it's kind of like when it happens, I feel like I'm like in the back seat.
Okay, but you're talking about afterwards.
I'm talking about afterwards. I normally I feel like sometimes I'll feel like I'm like really stoned.
So
Or
it
my
is.
thoughts act like that.
So it is that disconnected but connected feeling. You're
Yes.
there, but you're not.
Right. It's that same feeling that you might get like when you're sick and you're running a fever and you're kind of not all with it
Okay. Yeah, like
without actually feeling bad, but it's just that
right. It's that same kind of headspace feeling when you've got a fever that's higher than 101,
right.
and you're just kind of like,
Yeah, well, I don't know about everybody else. I know with us, that's when we run our mouths the most. And you take us out in public, and we go, "Oh yeah, look, she's mad because her husband's boinking the babysitter."
oh no, we don't take you out in public. We leave you at home. For that reason.
Okay, there was this one time.
We learn from our mistakes. So what else can you tell us about incarnation? I mean, can you tell us how you manage the feelings like afterwards?
Well, I mean, there's not really a lot of feelings to feel afterwards. You're just kind of blitzed.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. I mean, how do you deal with that? How do you manage that? Is it are there grounding techniques? Or
There's
there?
some grounding techniques. Oftentimes, we'll like use water to ground in.
Okay.
All right, because water is the transmedium of the elements,
Okay.
so we can use it to. I don't know how water does it, but it just seems to almost like it short circuits you.
Okay.
So if you ground in water, I know there's probably a lot of people going, "What the hell?" If you go into a really intense ritual and you're in that try it, see what happens. But it does. It takes you a while to get your mind back to where you are. I remember like we do a Sabbath on a weekend or something, and Sunday we kind of walk around like I've got a hangover.
Yeah, pretty much.
Maybe I only have 1 or 2 beers, but still walk around like I got a hangover for a day. Then I go back to work, and that's where I would get into most trouble.
Because at that point you're still
You're
still trying to bring yourself back.
You're still trying to bring yourself back, but you're still kind of you're a little bit more solid in your feelings and stuff. But you still got this part of you that does stuff. So when you're sitting there in the office and your other coworkers come in and you start answering their questions before they ask them, and you see that look on their face like,
But it's not like a no filter situation.
There is some filter, yes.
Some filter.
Unlike Sunday, where there is no filter, it's just
Right. Okay. So there is some filter, but you jump ahead
yes
on a lot of conversations.
on a lot of conversations because you're like, hey, yeah, I know where this was going to end before it even began.
It's like, you know what? I really don't feel like having this conversation. Yes. No. 22. Go home.
Go home. You know what? No, it would be more like, no, just put your PTO slip in. It's under this file name, under this thing. Go look it up. If you can't find it, let me know again. And please answer your phone this time before they call again.
Right. Now get back to work.
No, get back to work and leave me alone. You know, I think after years of working that one job, I think my coworkers were just like, yep, every so often just ignore them. Go with it. Don't ask questions.
Right. Somebody new comes in and they're like, oh, no. It's kind of like that time of the month for him. Just ride it. Let it go.
Just ride it. Abuse them. Go ahead. You know, my boss knew about our religion and stuff like that, and he had some idea of what some of the stuff that went on, and I think he actually enjoyed the times right after Grand Sabbaths and stuff like
really?
that. Yeah, it was like the best time for him to get stuff done, for me to get stuff done.
Oh, okay.
Because it was just like, okay, go do this. No. I know what time it is. Yeah. You'll be really creative about this. Go now. Get that woman to leave me alone.
Right? I don't know how you do it, but you're so good at this, especially at this time. Just do it.
See, this would not be funny, but you know my boss.
Right.
I'm speaking of, and yes, he would actually do this stuff.
Yeah, he would. So anything else you can tell us without divulging mysteries or oath-bound?
I wouldn't do it just on a whim.
So it's not something you do just like for every ritual or...
Well, I'm not going to say that. Okay. Yeah, I could say it's doing it for every ritual. And typically we do.
Okay.
To some degree. But if you just read a book 2 months ago, no, you shouldn't be attempting to incarnate.
All right, so you think this is something that is better done or best attempted once you have had instruction?
I think it is better because, again, we can't control what people do.
Right.
I'm going to tell you, if you are not prepared for it 100%, yeah, I could see where it could shatter someone's psyche in about like 2 seconds flat. Or not even that long, you know, as soon as it hits.
So again, work with somebody who knows, who has done it.
Who has done it, knows what in the world they're doing, that you trust. I mean, this is something, I'm sorry, it's not something you can just learn in a book. Because the training on this is so specifically you.
Okay, yeah.
Does that make sense? I cannot see me teaching somebody how to do this stuff in a classroom. Does that make sense?
Just a little bit.
In other words, it has to be one-on-one instructions. There's no other way around it.
Oh, okay.
Is that personalized? All right. One of the reasons we can't tell you how we do it is because it is personalized to each person. In other words, I can't sit there and do a class of 30 people at one time. I can do 30 people.
Right. Well, yeah. Okay. So you can't just say, well, this is the way you do it.
Right.
Because everybody's going to do it everybody's going to handle it a little bit differently.
Exactly. And then takes that training and that patience to help people learn how to put themselves back together afterwards. I mean, because your psyche's kind of like just all hanging on with each other going, hey, and you got to kind of sometimes
Manually reel it back in.
Manually sit down, do some meditation, stuff like that, and go, okay, I gotta get my thoughts back together. So again, it takes training. It really does take real training. This is not something you want to do as a parlor trick.
But now, are there people who can just pretty much naturally do this?
I'm not going to say people can't innately do it. I know they can. But again,
you would still suggest some training?
I would still suggest some training. You definitely better been meditating for quite a number of years now, every day, and really digging into your psyche and stuff like that to do this.
All right.
You know, I'm not going to say it ain't dangerous or without risk.
But again, if you're going to do it, then you, at the very least, you need to have somebody there watching you to make sure you just don't run off, you know.
And again, because here's your problem. Just like I said earlier, we have lichens to watch us to make sure that we do not walk into fires.
Right.
So if you're doing this by yourself, there's nobody there to...
Right, you're potentially exposing yourself to danger.
Right.
And you won't be able to stop it.
No. So, making sense there? I mean, again, like I said, if you just read a book a couple of months ago and it's only been a few years, no, don't. And as soon as I said that, there's like 12 people going, I'm going to do that now.
Maybe.
All right. Just let you know, I have warned y'all.
Right. The warning's out.
The warning's out. If you hurt yourself or anything, not my fault. That's all you.
Right. We did not tell you to do that.
All right. You do you, boo.
Thanks for listening. Join us next week for another episode. Pagan Coffee Talk is brought to you by Life Temple and Seminary. Please visit us at lifetempleseminary.org for more information, as well as links to our social media: Facebook, Discord, Twitter, YouTube, and Reddit.
We travel down this trodden path, the maze of stone and mire. Just hold my hand as we pass by a sea of blazing pyres. And so it is the end of our days, so walk with me till morning breaks. And so it is the end of our days, so walk with me till morning.